Welcome to the Take Flight podcast. Today, I'm honored to have Chelsey Klein with me. In 2020, Chelsey survived a tragic accident on Mount Shasta, a day that took her boyfriend's life and changed hers forever. She's now sharing her journey of survival and healing in her new memoir, Beyond the Edge. Chelsey, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate you, wanting to hear more and how we could really just get the story out to hopefully change people's lives.
You're welcome. And so reading your memoir, I finished it in the last day or so and never met you before. I feel like I know you so well, and just the way the memoir is told with such detail and emotion, I felt really connected to you and everything that you spoke about in the memoir. And it's just a great feeling to know that you had that courage to tell that story. And I feel just really connected to everything that you said in that. And I got to thinking when I was towards the end of the memoir, like, at what point in the last 5 years did you realize that your story needed to be written and needed to be shared with everybody?
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that, because actually how we were connected, right? Our buddy Corey, he referred me, what was that? Probably 3 years ago now, to be a guest speaker on a podcast. And it was called The Real Deal Talk. And he was the one that helped connect me to get me to do a podcast to really, for the first time ever, talk about my story, talk about not just the story of my hiking accident, but my story, right? What I wrote this book about. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like this, right? Like I didn't know the person. I was just walking in, and it was just like, hey, tell me what happened. Who are you? And tell me your background. And so we got into it, and 2 hours later, we produced this podcast that ended up taking flight, and it touched thousands of people. And it was in that moment, I just remember, honestly, like it was yesterday, walking out of the studio and thinking, wow, like I think this is my calling. I think this is why I survived, to share my story. Because it's been a journey in the last 5 years, figuring out why I survived, right? Being found where I was and how I was found. It was like, I just knew there was a deeper purpose behind this. And it was really, truly after that first podcast episode that I did, that I just thought, this is it. Like, I think this is it. And so I had a feeling after that for the last, call it 3 years, that I needed to write it though. I needed to write a book. I would love to be a motivational speaker. I would love to go speak about this and to go really connect with people in person and talk about it. And I was actually talking to my therapist, and she said, Chelsey, she said, you need to write a book. She goes, you need to write a book. You need to have something in hand, something tangible to be able to say and walk in places. I have a sales background, so like cold call on places, right? And just say like, this is my story. I wrote a book. I published a book. I want to speak about it. And so it's through my therapist that motivated me. And here we are 3 years later. I set a goal for myself at the beginning of 2025 to write my book, and started in January. And by June of this year, it was written, and I started the publishing process through the editing. And then it was October 10th that we finally launched it to the world. So
it's wonderful. And did I see that you had a book signing or a kind of a meet and greet recently?
I did.
How exciting is that?
It was so cool. I didn't even know it was a thing. Honestly, my really good friend, he owns a couple restaurants and bars and a coffee shop out here. And we were chatting one day. Honestly, we were sitting in the cold plunge at my gym, and he's like, what are you going to do for your book? What are you going to do for your book launch? And I'm like, what do you mean book launch? I'm going to put it on my social media for my thousands of 1,000 followers that I have, and say, hey, look, guys, I have a story. And he's like, no. Like, we need to do a book signing. We need to do a celebration. And so lo and behold, he's like, we're going to do it at my coffee shop. We're going to do this whole thing. And we did. It ended up being so much more than I ever could have dreamt or imagined. I sold out. I brought 25 copies of my books, ended up selling out in about 2 hours.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was so cool. And then ended up like doing other pre-orders for people. So then I started hand delivering them a
Oh
week
my
later
gosh.
when I got more and had them, and sign them and stuff. And it was such a special moment. I mean, I had people show up that I haven't seen in years.
Yeah.
People that have just followed me and followed my story and followed my journey over the last 5 years, whether it's through career changes, whether it's through health, milestones, I like to say, just obviously because I had a lot of injuries and just me being able to like still run and still do exercise, do the things that I do, whether it's like through my gym. I mean, it was so cool. It was like in every walk of life I had someone show up, and the support has just been more than I ever could have imagined. So it was a lot of fun. It was super, super cool.
Yeah. It was cool to see those pictures. I was really, really proud of you for like, when we talked to, I think first back in the summertime, and I think had just finished the book, and we're looking at the publishing process and what it was going to look like to get the book bound and printed and all that stuff. And to see it like come to life and actually be sitting at a table and signing autographs on your own book has got to be pretty special and surreal.
It's funny. It's like, I still have one like right here, like sitting on my kitchen counter, and I just like leave it here. And I'm like, wait, what? Like this is,
that's yours.
This is me. This is me.
It's a stuff. It's like one of those projects you do as like a third grader where they give you like, 6 pieces of paper and you fold them together and you staple them. And that's like your first book, and you sign it because, cursive for the first time. And here you are, like you're an actual author.
Hopefully. And then the crazy thing is too, is like, if I say something or like, I'm a published author, right? Like I never thought in my life I would ever be a published author. And the funny thing is like, I'm not a writer. I was a communications major. Like I could sit here and chit chat all day, but for me, like actually putting thought to paper, like that's the craziest thing to me, right? To say that I'm a published author. So then when I do speak about it or I say something, people are like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I'm like, is that a big deal? But then I look at my book that's sitting here and I'm like, or Amazon, or and I'm like, oh, I guess this is kind of rare.
Kind of a big
Not
deal,
a lot of people can say that they're a published author.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
you.
And
I want to invite you to share as much from that day as you're comfortable with and the events that followed. But, I think a big part of your story is your younger years and, the moments that shaped who you became in your 20s and 30s. And if you'd like, maybe get into maybe what your childhood was like and how your competitiveness and how that all kind of shaped who you were as a person.
Yeah. So, happy to share everything. Right. I mean, that's the book it's just, I'm not leaving anything behind. So, I think a big thing that I always bring up and that I have to start with to paint the picture is I'm an athlete. I grew up in a very athletic family. My dad's a golf professional. I have 2 older sisters. We've all played sports my entire life. And so I've grown up on a court, whether it was watching my oldest sister play basketball, my middle sister play volleyball. I actually was a gymnast originally for 11 years. And so I've always been an athlete. And with athletics comes competitiveness, comes a work ethic, right? That you have to instill in yourself and that you get from your coaches, that you get from my parents. And so I have to really paint that picture. And I talk about that a lot in the book, because I think once people understand this mentality that I had as a child, this drive, this yearning for perfection, which to a fault, this competitiveness, the mindset of like never giving up, right? And that if I work harder, I will be better. If I work harder, I will get results. That has been my entire life. So that's how I, how I start the memoir. And I really, really dig deep in my childhood, being a gymnast, and then moving into moving into volleyball. Ended up transitioning into volleyball when I was in 7th grade, because I actually broke my back in gymnastics when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah. And you talk about in the memoir, you're on the track. I mean, you had ambitions to be in the Olympics, right?
I sure was. I mean, I was literally about to be homeschooled. to be able to train 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
My parents were going to actually ship me off to a training facility to go literally just train for the Olympics. I was 2 levels away.
Wow.
So I started gymnastics when I was 3 years old, and just continued. Obviously, that was my only sport up until, like I said, I was in 7th grade, and I ended up having just a crazy fluke accident fall at state championships and broke my back, which is wild when you think about the break that I had in 7th grade, my 5th lumbar vertebrae, to then fast forward, without giving too much detail in the book, to fracturing my spine in my hiking accident. It was literally that same area, almost that same type of break, right? So, so ended up having to quit cold turkey in 7th grade from gymnastics. And then that's when I started picking up volleyball, because my middle sister played volleyball, and ended up excelling and really finding a natural ability in volleyball that eventually took me to college, where I got a volleyball scholarship and ended up playing for the University of Texas in Austin. So I dig deep into that experience in my book, because I will say to this day, and I've always said, that is the hardest job I've ever had and will ever have in my life, is playing collegiate volleyball at that level. And it really absolutely shaped me into the person I am today as an adult, whether it's, again, my work ethic through work, my work ethic through life, my work ethic still today in the gym. It's just absolutely ingrained in me. And so
what was that about those years at Texas that made it so challenging and the hardest thing you've done?
Yeah. So there's a few things, right? I think the mental aspect of it, right? Working and performing under pressure. We were very, very good. Like, I have some hardware. We won the Big 12 twice when I was there. We played in the national championships. Like, we were very good, and they still are to this day.
Yep.
So I think just that natural pressure cooker, right? Like being out there and having to perform at that level, the mental side of it, of what it took. But then even just the physical side, right? Like I said, it's the performance, it's showing up every day to practice, knowing that, that hard practice I have today I don't think anything could have been more difficult physically. And then that stack rank system. I mean, if you showed up to practice and you didn't perform, you didn't play. It just is what it is. You have a bad day, you didn't play. It just is what it is. And then, whether it was in the gym, whether it was in the weight room, everything we did was graded. It was a stack rank system. Can you lift more than your, teammate that is in that same position as you? Can you run faster? Can you show up earlier? Like, it's just every single thing you were up against someone or something and yourself. But then it wasn't even just volleyball, right? I mean, if I'm having to balance school, I'm having to balance travel, I'm having to balance a social life, I'm having to balance my grades, my homework, my performance. There's just so many moving parts that, plus on top of having to perform and having to try to control what I can control.
Yeah.
There's just nothing more demanding. There's just nothing harder than that. And I'm grateful for it, because I work in sales today, and it's like, it's one of those things where I might not have the physical side of it every day, but I sure as heck am stack ranked. I'm dealing with the mental pressure, right? My performance. And you have to be a team player.
Yeah.
You can't make it all about yourself, because as much as my performance and my individual performance is what mattered to me, right? So that I could go play and feel like I was worth something in my playing time, you also had to be a team player. So when you weren't playing or when you weren't doing well, how do you still give to others? And I think that was a big piece of it too. So it was the best experience of my life. It was the most rewarding experience of my life. That's probably one of the things in life I'm most proud of, is being able to say I played volleyball at the University of Texas in Austin. But it was hard. It was very hard.
Yeah. Isn't that funny that some of those times in life where you don't see it in the moment, it takes years gone by to actually reflect back and be thankful for being put through like a meat grinder like that, where you don't realize it's going to shape you in the years to come, but it actually, it's hard to tell someone that what you're going through now is going to actually pay off years down the road, as hard as it does seem in the moment.
Yeah, well, and 1000%. And the other big thing that I think about every single day is I'm honestly grateful for my failures.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard again to think of that and to look back, but I am more proud of failing and how I overcame that, right, than I am actually my success, because that's the only way you learn, right? That's the only way you grow. And the fact that I could take my failures, my struggles, and honestly, and even to this day, right? Like this is how I get through life, is I'm okay with setbacks, because I know deep in my heart, no matter what, like there is a positive in that. And I will get something out of that. I will grow from it. There is a positive, even though you might not see it in that moment. It's literally the only way we can truly get better. And that's a positive in it itself. So yeah, I mean, that's literally how I live my life every day.
Yeah. That's a great outlook. I love that. Well, so now let's jump forward to 2020 and fun COVID times, right? What were the days and weeks, maybe months like leading up to that day in September?
Yeah, I never thought I would be a hiker. I never thought I knew how to live my life outside of my routine. And I think we all quickly had to experience our lives and our routines taken away from us when COVID happened. We were shut down. Everything that I had ever known was gone for all of us, right? Yeah. And so it was it was definitely a learning experience. Thank God I had Jeff, because we just really like hunkered down together and we just tried to figure it out together. So Jeff he loved hiking, right? He loved the outdoors. Mm-hmm. He was a Colorado man. He was a mountaineer. He had climbed Whitney. I mean, that was his love. And I didn't really know. I'm like this little California girl. I didn't really know much other than, sunny San Diego and sports and a gym, right? Like that's all I knew. And so when everything was shut down, I started running outside. I started going for walks. We started hiking. It was really the only thing that we felt safe and comfortable doing was being outside, right? Being outside, our distance. And that was the only way that we found some sort of like normal life, because we were both very active and we loved to exercise. And so it was, him that really got me into hiking. So yeah, go ahead.
No, go. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So, so that started, gosh, I'd have to look back on my Instagram to see exactly like the date was of our first hike, but oops, sorry. So we started hiking. We picked it up. And
so you hiking shoes for the first time, hiking boots for the first time.
Honestly, like I'm pretty sure our first couple hikes, like I just wore like my Nike tennis shoes, like and then it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm kind of slipping here. I should probably figure this out. So then I got smaller, like little cheapy ones from Amazon, like thinking anything of it. They were just like these cool tennis shoes that were known for hiking outdoors. So I did that. And then once we started really getting into these like technical elevated hikes, I was like, okay. So he ended up taking me to REI and he was like, okay, we've got to get some gear here. Like this is not going to work. So then I still have them in my closet. Actually, the hiking boots that I ended up wearing, on some of our bigger hikes. And so, but honestly, I dropped way too much money. I mean, I had so much
that place
gear.
Will take a lot of your money if you let it.
Oh my gosh. Every time we go, it's like one of those things where you're like, no, I'm going to the grocery store. I'm not hungry. I'll be fine. And you walk out with like everything in your
Yeah.
cart. That was me at
Yes.
REI. I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, $1,000 drop. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just found this love of it with like through him and, my faith. I have faith. I've always my entire life, I've grown up in the church and, I just started getting and feeling this connection to God when I started hiking. I felt like when I was up at the summit, I realized like that was the closest I could naturally get, right, to God. Um, we could all fly in airplanes and we could all go,
Yeah.
jump out of a plane or whatever, but to literally walk my way up to the
Yeah.
top of a mountain and look up and then on your way up, realizing that that was not man-made.
Yeah.
It really just drew this like spiritual connection for me that I fell in love with it. And then, put the exercise and the challenge and all those other things
Yeah.
that I loved and was motivated by. But, um, yeah, it really drew me in. And then
But pretty
having that
quick
like
too,
path.
right? Yeah.
Was
I mean,
that
you started hiking in early part of 2020. That was the first time you've ever done it.
literally besides hiking, being out here in San Diego, besides hiking like Torrey Pines or Potato Chip Rock, right? Which is like, I don't know what, 1,000, 2,000 feet in elevations. If that, I don't even know. I could look back, but it's like, I mean, this was like truly my first time ever really being in the mountains. Like I said, this little California girl, like I didn't grow up in the mountains. I didn't grow up snowboarding. I didn't grow up doing any of that. I was an athlete. I was never loud because I couldn't get hurt. And
Mhm.
so it was truly my like real first experience being in the mountains and being in some sort of elevation like that. And then to be able to do it on my own, right? Walking on my 2 feet with maybe just
Yeah.
some hiking poles and a helmet though. That's the other thing I want to put out there. Like we didn't do technical hikes. I wasn't trying to go climb Everest like he was. I honestly was in it for the elevation, the exercise, my
Mhm.
spiritual connection and with him,
Yeah.
I loved sharing that with him because I also knew how much he loved it. And it was just, it drew me in. And
Yeah.
so we fell deep into it together. We started hiking honestly almost every weekend, at least definitely once a month for a while, because we started getting higher and higher and higher.
Mhm.
And there are a group of mountains out here called the Six Pack of Peaks. And they're mountains that he had always wanted to do. Again, I'd never even heard of these mountains. I didn't even know that they existed 3 hours from San Diego. He
Wow.
would say something and I'm like, cool, let's go do it. I had no clue.
And you grew up in the area.
I grew up in the area, no clue. Like hiking was not in my vocabulary
No.
in life. It was sports and the gym. Like that's
Yeah.
all I ever knew. And so I just was
Hmm.
along for it and I loved it. And he took charge. He said where we're going. He said these are the hikes that I want to do. And I said, cool, let's do it. So that was really what got us started. I mean, he's what got me started. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so we just started doing like more and more hikes, right? Like higher and higher, more strenuous, more like just every single time we just kept going and going and going. And then our aspirations and our goals just got bigger, where we ended up wanting to get into what they're called 14ers. So 14,000 foot mountains, which are a pretty big deal. Again, at the time, I didn't know what was a big deal. I didn't really care that Mount Hood was whatever type of mountain it is. Mount Shasta, I don't know, but apparently
Yeah.
in the hiking
It's
world,
a
it
big
is a
deal.
big deal. So, I just did it. I didn't think anything of it.
And
So
your ultimate goal was, I mean, I would say ultimate goal, but you climb Shasta in preparation to climb Mount Hood, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
So we were using Shasta as a training, which is interesting, right? Because they're both 14,000 foot mountains, but we were actually using Shasta as a training to go do Hood 2 weeks later. So Mount Hood was really his deep aspiration beyond, right, Everest and some of these other big ones that I had nothing. I wasn't going to do that. I'm like, that's all you, babe, go for it. But Mount Hood was really our ultimate goal together that we were trying to accomplish. And so that's why we went to Mount Shasta, because it's a little bit closer to San Diego, not as high and not as technical as Mount Hood would have been. So it was really just a workup to Mount Hood, which we never ended up being able to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so your accident happened September, what was the date?
September 26th, 2020.
September 2020. Yeah. So 5 years, a little over 5 years.
Yeah.
And you were found after falling by a rescue team?
Yeah. So do you want me to
you can as much as you'd like. Yes. Yeah.
So,
I don't want to, obviously you have a story out there that's written, and I'd love for people, I'm sure you would too, to read the entire story. So you'd be happy to share as much as you'd like.
Yeah. I'll share it. And again, I'd love for people. So the podcast episode and what we're doing now, I always say it's just kind of like a teaser into the book. I say the book is all of this on steroids, right? Because I end up interviewing the pilot that ended up rescuing me out of the helicopter, which I'll get into. He is still my very, very dear friend to this day. I actually was able to meet him and his wife and kids. They came to San Diego, and I had dinner with him and my family because of how special and monumental his side of the rescue was for himself. Oh, yeah. And then I'm also still friends with, to this day, and actually was texting him yesterday, the man that was hoisted down out of the helicopter that actually was able to retrieve me off the mountain. So they were interviewed in the book, or for the book, and they're in there. And so I have tons of detail from them and their experience and their take on what they had to go through in the rescue. Obviously interviewed my mom. I think it's important for people out there that have kids, right, to understand, like my mom getting this 2 a.m. phone call from a hospital saying your daughter was in an accident. She's in the hospital, right? I don't have kids, so I can't imagine that. But I really wanted everybody, no matter what stage of life that they're in, no matter what they're into, to feel a connection in this book. And so so I say that because I'm going to tell the story, but the detail that I was able to get and put into the book, I think is much more valuable than me just being able to explain it here. So, September 26, 2020, Jeff and I, we just went out for a normal day hike like we normally do. Our routine, our ritual was we would always hike a little bit, start in the morning, hike a little bit, put our tent up, stay overnight, wake up the next morning and finish the hike, because it would end up just being a day hike. And Shasta is only about 9 miles, even though it's 14,000 feet. So if you think about that, like it's the elevation, right? Like to get to 14,000 feet in only 9 miles, you're going straight up. Yep. So 9 miles for us, again, is an easy day hike. The weekend before, we did San Jacinto, which is, I think, I don't know, again, don't quote me, I need to look back, I think 23 miles. And we did that in 2 days the weekend before. So 9 miles to us, we're like, that's pocket change. We're not worried about it. So we did just that. We hiked about a mile, pitched a tent, slept, and then got up the next morning to do our day hike up and down Shasta and be able to finish in one day. Well, again, looking back, everything in hindsight, we started way too late in the day. We took our time in the morning, had our breakfast, had our coffee, the best you can, right, out of a tent with our little, coffee cup, instant coffee. And I think we started, honestly, it was probably like 10 or 11 in the morning, which not smart. So looking back, first mistake. Second mistake, well, this was really the first, like the true mistake, was that we were hiking a glacier in September, the end of September. Should not have been doing that. Please do not do that, people. Take precautions, do your research. Not smart.
And you mentioned in the book that you guys were out there and you you didn't see anybody else around that day, correct?
Nobody. There was one man that we saw doing this hike. Pretty sure he was just doing a little hike though, like a little walk. He lived in the area, and that was one person that we saw, and it was like, I mean, he knew what he was doing. Like I said, I think he was a local, and he was.
Yeah.
But honestly, besides that, nobody was out there.
And that's not normal.
It was a ghost town.
Yeah. Right.
So another moment that we should have or could have seen, right? That like, it was every other hike we had ever done, there were people, not this one. So first mistake, not the time of year to hike a glacier. Second mistake, we started way too late. Well, we got up to about 12,000 feet, and it was 4:30 in the afternoon. Jeff quickly realized that we were fighting with sunset at that point, and there was no way we were going to make it to the summit and be able to turn around and go back down without dark. And so we went up on all rock and dirt. Like, it was nothing technical. There was there were maybe little patches of snow here and there, but that was normal. I mean, we were seeing that months before when we were hiking Gorgonio and we were hiking all these other mountains. I mean, it's elevation, right? You're going to get snow up there. It is what it is. But it was nothing like we were worried about when it came to getting caught in it. And so we got up to 12,000 feet, and we realized we've got to turn around. We're not going to make it with sunset. Again, going up on all rock and dirt, all of a sudden we go to turn around, and the mountain was covered in it was black ice, rock solid ice. Everything around us, we're looking down, and it's ice. And I have no idea what happened. So I am not good with GPS. I don't use maps. Thank goodness for Google Maps or whatever. But my role was never to be the guide. But I'm just not good with directions. And he had an awesome Garmin watch. And so for whatever reason, and I would ask him if he was standing here today, I don't know what happened. I don't know how we got off path or how we got off track, but we were just standing there, and we could just see just ice, and that's it. But we could see to the left of us, about 30 yards away, where the dirt was that we came up. And so for whatever reason, we just got off path, and we got stuck on this ice. And like I mentioned about REI, we went the day before we drove out to Shasta. We had to go to REI because I didn't have any technical gear when it came to ice or snow. But we knew we were going to Shasta, which is a glacier. So our motto was always prepare for the worst and pray for the best. So we went out the day before, and we bought crampons on my shoes. If you would have asked me 5 years ago what crampons are, I'm like, wait, what? No clue. No clue. What are these? So crampons and ice axe. I had a helmet because we had done other large technical hikes or other large hikes before Shasta. So I had my helmet and everything, but we had to buy an ice axe, and we had to buy crampons for me. I literally took them out of the box. The boxes were in my car right before we went up to Shasta. So we're sitting there, he's sitting to the right of me, and we're sitting here on this ice, and he's having to put the crampons on my hiking boots because I, again, had no idea what to do with these things or what they were. And I just remember sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I am so scared just sitting on this ice. How the heck am I going to even get up? I'm scared just sitting here that I'm going to slip. Yeah. And so, he's putting my crampons on, and he's actually telling me as we're sitting there, okay, this is how you use your ice axe. This is how you dig your feet into the ground on these crampons. Never used it, had no clue. And, he's sitting next to me, and he said, okay, we just have to get over to the left of us. We just have to get over back to that dirt where we came up. We're not going to go down. We just have to get over back to that dirt. And so he's sitting next to me, puts all of my gear on, and he gets up to take 2 steps to walk over and slips and falls down this mountain. And And I'm just still sitting there and I see him go down. I obviously in that moment, thank the Lord, at 12,000 feet, I had phone service and I was able to pick up the phone and call 911. Well, when I called 911, it routed me to the sheriff's department. And they said, they picked up the phone and I was telling them what was going on. At this point, Jeff had gone all the way down the mountain. He was lying there and he wasn't moving. I was screaming at him. I don't know if he's alive or not. And the sheriff's department started asking me all these questions. And I'm like, I don't know, just send somebody out here. And they said, well, we need to send the Shasta search and rescue team out to you. They have the helicopter. They will be the ones to come get you. And they said, but it's going to take 4.5 hours. And again, I'm just still sitting there and I see Jeff at the bottom. And they said, if you think he's alive, you could try to get down to him. Otherwise, it's going to take 4.5 hours. Well, in that moment, I actually ended up seeing him move. And I see him trying to stand up. And I start screaming at him, but, thinking he's alive, right? And he fell a second time. And it was in that second time that he fell, I don't know where he went. I didn't see him. I didn't see where he fell. And so I immediately get off the phone and I try to go down to him. I take 2 steps. I lose my ice axe and I fall. I don't remember a thing, Ryan, until all of a sudden I felt someone just like tugging at me at my waist. I felt that tug, blacked out again, woke up in the hospital. I broke my leg. I dislocated my clavicle. I fractured my spine. I broke all my ribs. I had hypothermia. I had concussion. My leg was already surgically done. I have a metal rod and screws in my leg. It's already surgically done. And I woke up in the hospital and I thought, well, where's Jeff? Like thinking he was in the room next to me. And they said, no, honey, he didn't make it, and put me back to sleep. So I ended up staying in the hospital for a week out in Reading at this point. And I could fast forward, or, we could leave it as a little bit of a teaser, but there were 2 different helicopters that were sent out to get me. I went to 2 different hospitals. So they originally took me to the Shasta hospital. They took me in to evaluate me. Apparently I was awake and talking this entire time. I don't remember a thing. They took me in and did an evaluation and I was too trauma for them. So they took me by ambulance over to Mercy Reading, which is where they ended up admitting me for my surgery and where I ended up staying for a week. So, stayed there while they tried to obviously like get me under control and, get, everything somewhat level again, because I was pretty much on like, not life support, but I was, obviously like, because they needed to monitor my mental state, right? Of waking up and them telling me that Jeff had died, because we all know that our mental state affects our physical state. Our physical state affects our mental state. So they tried to just stabilize me, kept me there for a week. Before I was released to come home, but I don't remember a thing. Everything that was pieced back together that I write about in the book, about how I was found, the miracle as to how I was found, which I could explain in a moment. It was all told to me by the men that rescued me, by the helicopter pilot and John, the man that was hoisted down out of the helicopter. That was the one that actually, right, like tugged and pulled me up. Mm-hmm. But I guess I was awake the whole time, talking to them. They didn't even know I was hurt. I was totally coherent, telling them that I didn't have any allergies to medication. I mean, they're telling me all these stories that I was like chatting it up with them in a helicopter. And it's kind of funny. I kind of joke, but like not really. I'm like, man, it's kind of cool to say I've been in a helicopter. I wish I would have remembered that. Like, when else am I going to ever be in a helicopter again? I don't think I would voluntarily go be in a helicopter knowing how kind of unsafe they are. But I'm like, man, I don't ambulance, no idea. Apparently I was in 2. So, so that's just the tip of the iceberg on, the fall itself and, my the news about Jeff not making it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That story there. I'm sure it's not easy to retell it every time you have to. But I think it's important, as you've said before. So I thank you again for sharing it. Did they tell you? Did they any indication like how far you had fallen?
So all I know is that I am the highest rescue ever on Mount Shasta. I'm not sure if that's something to brag about, and that's something cool to put in the record books. But my helmet had fallen off, and my helmet was lying about 100 feet past where he was. From what I remember, there was a different crew that rescued Jeff because they had to go get Jeff actually the next morning by foot. And the Shasta search and rescue team is who went and retrieved Jeff's body. My team was a mix of the Army National Guard and this Black Hawk helicopter. I had a different rescue crew. So where I was, I don't know exactly my elevation. I don't know exactly like where I was located. I just know that my helmet had fallen off and was past where he was lying. But the crazy story, I think that really ties this all up too, is just really the miracle how I was found. So I had a headlamp on my head, right? That was the only thing that helped us. It was dark. I do not, first of all, remember even turning it on because when we started to go, it wasn't dark yet. So I don't even remember when and where I turned this headlamp on. But what had happened was the helicopter, they did a lap around the mountain and they couldn't find me because where they pinged my phone was not where I was located. They didn't, right? Because when I called, I hadn't gone down yet. Mm-hmm. And so they did a lap around the helicopter, around the mountain, and they couldn't find me. So it was in that second lap around the mountain that all of a sudden they could see from the corner of their eye a small light that was on this mountain. Come to find out that teensy light, which is in the book and part of the cover, was my headlamp that remained lit and on my head. That headlamp, if it was not on my head and if it was not lit, I would not have been found. So come to find out, I don't know if you know much about night vision, but another crazy miracle. So I was found by the Black Hawk helicopter, the Army National Guard. The reason why they were called in is because they needed night vision. The Shasta helicopter did not have night vision, the rescue team that was supposed to get me. So they called and dispatched this Black Hawk helicopter. I don't know if you remember during COVID, but there were really wild, severe fires going on out in Northern California.
Yep.
That helicopter was called in that morning to support the firefighters, CAL FIRE, that was going to battle those wildfires. If that helicopter was not there and grounded already that morning, it would have taken an additional 5.5 hours to call for a helicopter that had night vision. I would not have survived. I was so hypothermic as it was, right? I was sitting there. Who knows? I would not have survived. So that crew that was called out, they ended up telling me, they said, the crazy thing about night vision, and I didn't know this, is that actually night vision does not work unless there is some sort of light. So night vision is actually makes whatever light is out there brighter. But if there's no light, the night vision doesn't catch anything. Mm-hmm. So if that headlamp was not lit and still on my head, the night vision camera for the helicopter, which is what spotted me, would not have found me.
Wow.
So that headlamp is in my closet right now. Like it's literally sitting in my closet. That is how I was spotted. That is how I was found. Because like I said, where I called for help, they went and tried to go to those areas and I wasn't there. So, I mean, this is just that's just one miracle, right?
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
plenty.
the amount of miracles that it took for me to survive, for me to have been found. Again, I am just like scratching the surface of the detail. There's at least 11 different instances. I mean, that are why I'm here today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just,
But reading the book, everyone you talked about, I'm like, well, there's another one. There's another
you could
miracle.
literally count them.
Yeah.
I mean, even the little shelf, remember in the book where I talk about the little shelf that I'm sitting on? I'm just sitting there on this little divot
you end
that
up
I
there.
managed to be sitting on, waiting for them. But yet my helmet was found past him. I mean, we fell in the same place, right? We went down the same mountain, north face, like same area, but yet I happened to hit this little like chair that just cushioned me for me to sit there and wait to be rescued.
And I don't understand how the mechanism works with the helmet and the night in the light, but how does that come off and the light stay on?
Exactly. So that's another thing. I'm like trying to remember because I always thought, and again, this is me and how not hiking savvy I am. From what I thought, you put your helmet on and you put your headlamp over your helmet.
Is it
right?
like an elastic type
helmet,
of?
It's exactly. Like it stretches, right?
Yeah.
So like I could even grab it, but from what I thought, you put your helmet on and your helmet's covering your head, your forehead, right?
Yeah.
So how the heck do you put your headlamp underneath it and it still fit over? So from what I thought, my headlamp was on top of my helmet. And I could be wrong. I don't remember. But
right.
I say that because it's like, how the heck did my helmet, and I was extremely concussed. So I was hit hard when I fell. How the heck did my helmet fall off? It's gone. I have no idea where it is. It's on Shasta. But yet my headlamp remained on my head. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't think that is something I was meant to know. No. I think the point of that for me is the miracle in it and the lessons I'm taking from it. And by the grace of God, I was saved. Like there's no other explanation. I didn't save myself. I didn't stop myself from falling. Now my hands and my nails, and I have pictures in the book that I included of just how beat up I was, right? And my nails were all broken. My fingers were bruised. I was clawing at the mountain. Again, I don't remember. I was doing something, right, to get me to be where I was. But the fact that I was able to stop sliding enough to get to that point to crawl or claw or whatever I was doing, that's not me. That wasn't me. Wow. Part of the miracle. So I fractured my spine, like I said, crazy fractured, literally had a vertebral compression fracture. And when I came home after being released from the hospital, I had to get all new doctors, right? So I ended up fracturing my spine, dislocating my shoulder, and then my leg. Those were like my three big, right, what you think would be surgical procedures that needed to be done. So when I came home to San Diego, I was actually working in medical device sales at the time. I was the vertebral compression fracture rep for Stryker. So I literally fractured my spine of what I did for a living. I was going into surgeries every day. Well, not because, COVID. I mean, I was considered elective, so I wasn't working. But I did. I went back to work after five months. I started walking after 5 weeks. I ended up having 4 surgeries in 6 months and started walking. And I went back to work after 5 months. But I say that because I knew a lot of the surgeons, right? I knew a lot of like really great medical professionals in San Diego, thanks to my profession. Well, I came home after being released from Shasta or Redding, and I had to find all new doctors. And so my spine doctor was one of my doctors, and he looked at my MRI, and he looked at me, and he literally held my hand in the hospital room, and he said, Chelsey, I don't know how you fell, how you landed, how you like twerked your body for you to literally be walking right now. He said, you fractured every part of your spine except the part that would have left you with paralysis. So that in itself was another miracle. Never had to have surgery on my spine. I ended up having 2 surgeries on my shoulder. They had to take cadaver ligaments. My shoulder was literally up to here. And
I saw the picture of the book. It's gruesome.
It's
How'd they not fix that right away?
Well, you know what's crazy? They actually didn't even see it.
How?
My mom was the one that ended up pointing it out as they were getting ready to release me from the hospital in Reading. She's like, Chelsey, what's going on with your shoulder? I'm like, what do you mean? I thought it was my right shoulder, and my right shoulder is a little messed up because of playing volleyball all those years. It's kind of like caved a little bit just from wear and tear. And I'm like, what do you mean, Mom? I'm like, this is my shoulder. And she's like, no, your left shoulder. And we look over, and lo and behold, it was like up to here. And it was in that moment that's like how my mom found it. I think they were just so concerned with everything else that was going on,
I'm
right?
Sure,
I think between my leg and the metal rod and my fractured spine and trying to get me under control, like I just think it was just looked over. So I ended up having to have 2 surgeries in my shoulder. They had to take cadaver ligaments and pull it back down with a hook and screws, and then had to do it. And then the second surgery was to get rid of all that hardware. So I don't have any hardware on my shoulder, but I actually never ended up having any physical therapy on any of my injuries except for my leg. And I did that for 6 weeks, and I was released from all medical supervision 7 months to the day of my accident. I have not seen a doctor since.
That is amazing. I mean, I don't know what you attribute. I mean, there's a lot of things to attribute to. I'm sure a big part of it is I think is probably your youth and your athleticism and your tenacity and your willingness to fight through pain and all these things. I mean, and there's miracle involved, and it's a lot of factors, but I'm sure a lot of it is just your kind of who your body in general, kind of the way it was trained growing up and to kind of persevere and get through injuries and probably a little bit more nimble than most people and a lot of these things.
100%. And what's also really interesting is looking back, and I speak about this in the book, but I was actually in the best shape of my life during COVID. I think a lot of people could either say that they were in great shape or they kind of lost it right during COVID. But for me, it's funny how getting out of a gym, getting out of my routine, getting more connected to my body, my mental state, nature, going on hikes. I mean, I was in the best shape of my life going into those hikes. And 100%, that is one of the reasons why and how I was able to recover as fast as I did. I mean, I just, I think, and it's interesting now because my workout and my mentalities when I work out now, I still work out 6 days a week. I run, I do yoga, I spin, like I have no medical restrictions. I don't have anything holding me back at all. Like all the things, golf. But I've learned how to be outside. I have learned how to listen to my body more. That push, that constant drive to lift heavy and work hard, and because of what I had to do as an athlete, right? Thinking that that's what gives results is this like that intensity.
Yeah.
It's actually not the answer. No,
yeah.
It's actually not the answer.
Yeah.
And I am now, I don't know if I'm necessarily back to where I was, right? I don't think I ever will, because I think age has a factor in that too. I'm 5 years older. But again, maybe even looking to 8 years ago, to see where I'm at today and my agility and my ability to, and even just my physical look. It's funny how, um, yeah, I mean, I don't work out as hard or as intense, right? I do different exercises. I get outside now, yoga, all the things that I never thought I could do because I needed to slow down are what has made me, and really truly is what helped me recover and survive and get through it as much as and fast as I did.
Yeah. You had a, it's kind of one of the, I guess maybe one of the only funny moments of the book, but it made me laugh as you talked about your injury to your leg and your recovery time and how you
Yeah,
compared it to, Tiger Woods
Tiger.
had the same injury in his car accident. Why don't you mention that?
Yeah. I had to throw a little jab in there, but big golf fan. I golf
Yeah.
in my family, but yeah. So I fractured my tibia and fibula, which is the same exact injury that good old Tiger Woods had when he was in his car accident. I'm not sure if you've seen him walk even to this day, but
Yeah.
still walks with a limp.
Yeah, he does.
Still struggles a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I don't know to his extent of how much it was shattered, right? I just know that we have the same injury. And no, I was up and at him 7 days. I actually ran I ran 5 miles on the 5 year, or not 5 month anniversary of my accident. I ran 5 miles
Wow. Oh man.
as a milestone, um, to be of showing that like I was back.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I, I attribute it to my work ethic, to my drive, to my health, to my, yes, to my dogginess and my stubbornness, but I just refuse to let things hold me back. Right. And I talk about that a lot in the story. This is my story. This is my story. This is who I am. This is what happened to me, but I refuse to play the victim. I refuse to let it define me. Um, what good does that do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I get emotional when and the epilogue of my book is really the deep in my soul, um, soul searching that I have done since my survival of what the heck am I going to take away from this? Like I said, I take everything from failure. I take everything from, um, mistakes and how do I get better? How do I learn? And so all these reflections and all these things, all the reflection and everything that I've done in the last 5 years, it's what the heck does this mean? Yes, we say life's short, right? But like, what does that mean? It means that I don't want to feel uncomfortable physically and mentally ever again. If something is going to make me feel uncomfortable, if something is going to, now I get it, we need to push ourselves, right? We need to get ourselves out of our comfort zone. I'm not saying that we need to now live safely. I'm not saying that. But what I really do on a daily is think about the things that used to drive me, that grind, that mentality of just go and go and go and don't give up and work harder and push yourself. I've learned now to take a step back and say, but for what, right? To what extent? To make myself feel uncomfortable and stressed. And um, that's not healthy either. And that's not the way I want to live my life. So, I joke and I just say, like, if people don't find value in me, if people don't, respect me and treat me how I would treat them or whatever those cliches are, it's not
Yep.
worth it to me. Like, for what? I don't want to do it. I'm not going to sit here and convince people to like me. I'm not going to sit here and convince people to find my value and my worth. You either have it or you don't. And that's another thing about my book. It's one of those, I feel like it's been a huge weight that's been lifted off my shoulders of, I turned 38 in February. This is literally the last 38 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
This is me. It doesn't get more raw and vulnerable and more true than this. and I'm single, right? Like I've never been married. I don't have kids, and I'm going through that chapter of my life, pun intended in the book. But like, I'm kind of just at this place where it's like, you know what? Take it or leave it, right? Like, this is me. I have nothing to hide. Literally, I wrote and published a book for the world to read of who I am because I'm dang proud of it.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's just like, I wake up every morning just with this feeling of, what is the true meaning or purpose behind that mentality that I have, right? Around like that grind and that go and that like constant push. Another big thing that I took away is control. I'm very type A. Being an athlete, I told you my mentality, right? If I work harder, I get it. If I work hard, if I want something, I go get it. But I've quickly learned there's only so much control we have. Whether for me, it's my faith, there's only so much I could do, but the rest is in God's control. It's in his plan. The plan for me to survive and for Jeff not to. Do I know the reasoning behind that? No, but I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to go be a good person. I'm going to go do what I need to do to share the story, to try to motivate and try to inspire others. And the rest is not in my control. We could put our seatbelt on every day. We can look both ways before we cross the street. We can wipe down our Amazon boxes during the largest pandemic of our our lifetime.
Yeah.
But for us to catch COVID or for us to get hit by a car, heaven forbid, whatever it may be, like it's not in our control. And that has been a big thing for me, is to learn how to just surrender, right? Just surrender and just let it happen, and still be a good person, still do all the things that we know that we're meant to go do, and be honest and trustworthy and work hard. But it's just, there's only so much we can do. Another big piece that I took away from this and that I've really had to learn for myself is the word grace. I ended up getting a little puppy dog afterwards. She's somewhere around here.
I haven't seen her yet.
I know. I'm surprised she hasn't barked. She's the little guard dog around here, but I named her Grace. She's in the book.
Yeah.
I'm a different person. I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago. I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. I'm a different person than I was 2 years ago. This is a constant battle. This is something I will deal with for the rest of my life. But what I've really learned is that I have to give myself grace for it. I was actually kind of angry after the accident because I felt like I wasn't driven anymore. I felt like I wasn't motivated anymore. Like, where was this girl that used to just thrive off of being number one and performance? Like I said, working in sales, like where was this girl that was just constantly needing to be the best? And it made me angry because I'm like, am I lazy? Like, where did this passion go to win? Now, granted, I will always be competitive. You put me in front of, you get me in a bowling league, you get me on the golf course. Like, I will always be competitive. I'm talking about like the drive in life to win in sales, right? I guess is what I'm trying to say, is like this person that was just defined by a number and performance. To be honest, like, she's gone. And it was like these pieces of me that were dying, that I had to learn how to give myself grace and embrace and realize like this new me is still good. I'm still okay. I'm still motivated. I'm still competitive in a fun way, but it doesn't define me. No. It doesn't make me whole. If anything, I kind of run the other way. Like, if you were to tell me to go grind and work harder, I'm like, I'm done with that. Those years are gone in my life. Like, I'm done grinding, right? What matters to me is work-life balance. What matters to me is working hard and doing what I need to do in my job to be successful, to be able to end my day to go on a walk with my dog and my friends and to go enjoy life. Right. And so grace has been a big part of this journey for me of just really learning how to embrace that. And the other big thing is giving grace to others. People look at me and they're like, you have a metal rod in your leg. You fell 12,000 feet down a mountain. All the things, right? Like it's so easy to judge a book by its cover. And I still, it's a reminder of myself to this day. Everybody walking this earth has a story. We all have a story. Ryan, I know a little bit about yours and your background and your career and what you want to do and why you're doing this podcast, right? Every single person walking this earth has a story, has something they've been through, have had trauma, trouble, some sort of suffering, right? We have to remember that when we every single day talk to people, walk by people on the street. I live downtown San Diego, so I see a lot of things and unfortunate things. We all have a story. We have to give each other grace in that. Someone drives by and flicks you off and they're speeding down the freeway. You just say, you know what? I'm going to pray for you. Who knows what they're going to speed for, right? Maybe their wife is at home sick. Maybe their child needs to be picked up from school. Whatever it is, we have to give each other grace. But don't forget to give yourself grace because things happen. You just can't let that define you. You just embrace it and you let it be your story, but don't let it hold you back because, there's so much more to life for us.
Yeah. Wow. That's, I'm not sure what to say on top of that. That was really well said, Chelsey. I mean, everything right there was perfect, especially the last part with the grace. That's so good. Thinking about other people and what they're going through. And always, when we see people's actions, we always think that they're bad people or they're not kind to others, but we don't know what's happening in their life and their moment, in their circumstances.
Exactly.
And you just have to be open-minded and just choose kindness over, anger or whatever your response might be for a situation. So I think it's a wonderful reminder for people to hear that, especially coming from you. I think it means a lot. So thanks for sharing your words. I don't know. I think I was going to ask you a few more questions, but I think you've covered so much in those past 20 minutes that I don't think there's no point in rehashing it, but I am curious on what's next for you, personally or creatively that maybe you see yourself tackling or going forward, or what's next in now that the book has been written and what you want to do with that.
Thank you for asking. I been still doing a lot of soul searching. I actually just finished and launched the audiobook version of my book. So now that you guys
tell people where they can find the book too,
and my passion. Yeah, so it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's hardcover, softcover, Kindle, and now Audible. So available in all versions. There are pictures in it. I say that because I'm a very visual person, and I think the pictures help do the hikes that I talk about leading up to Shasta, the pictures that I have of my recovery. I feel like that does it needed to be in there. So all different versions. And then, like I said, I literally just yesterday launched the audiobook version of me narrating and the entire thing. So that was quite the experience. I'm very proud of it. I'm very passionate about the audiobook because like I said, I'm a talker, clearly, and I just feel like my passion needs to be told in the story. So with your question, thank you for asking what's next. I would love to be a motivational speaker. I would love to go speak about this. I think, whether I start in churches, whether I start in small groups, whether I talk to athletes, survivors that are currently in the hospital and they just got out of surgery. I think there's a lot of different angles I could take it with the different aspects of my life, sports and leading sales, right? I could speak to sales professionals. So I'm trying to figure out how to do all that and where to go with that. But that would ultimately would be my dream. Would just be to go speak about it. I do feel like that has been my calling. I feel like my calling has been to share the story, and that's the purpose of the book. That's, my appreciation for being on here with you and being able to talk about it, because I also believe that if I could just touch one person's life, if I could motivate and inspire one person, I've done my job here on this earth. And, but with that, I feel like I need to get the story out, right? Because again, we don't know what everyone is going through, and whoever it may get to and whoever's life it may touch, that's what I did this for. So I would love for that. I mean, until then, I still have my day job. I have a mortgage to pay, but eventually, I'm trusting the Lord and trusting in the book. I need to put a little work behind it, right? And start sending it out to people and trying to really like spread word on it. Right now, it's just been with friends and family. I didn't do this to make $1 million. I didn't do this for any monetary reasons other than, like I said in the beginning, I think this has been one of the reasons why I think I survived. Yeah.
Well, now we're sharing your book, and it's going to be out there even further into the world. And I will make sure to share it with my friends and family and the people that I know that will appreciate it. So thank you, Chelsey, for joining me today on the Take Flight podcast. It was an incredible talk. Thank you for your wisdom and your courage and everything that, you've been through, and willingness to share your whole story. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for reading it. Thank you for enjoying it and sharing it. And like I said, just touching one person, I've done my job. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining and listening today, and we'll see you on the next one. Take Flight.